Inflation is one of the key economic factors to understand. According to the Consumer Price Index, CPI Report, the main drivers of inflation include supply and demand, cost of production, and money supply and velocity. Demand for goods and services plays an important role in inflation. When consumers have more money to spend, demand increases and prices rise. Businesses will increase prices if their raw materials, wages, and taxes increase. Cost of production affects prices, which consequently adds to inflation. Money supply and velocity can also influence inflation. If the money supply increases faster than the GDP, it leads to higher prices. Fiscal and monetary policies of governments also affect inflation. If governments monetize deficits, more money is printed, resulting in higher prices. Aside from economic growth, changes in population and demographic patterns also matter. Population growth can reduce the purchasing power of individual consumers and lead to higher prices. Price shocks can also contribute to inflation. Natural disasters, higher oil prices, crop destruction, and climate change are all examples of external factors that cause price hikes. Major geopolitical events, such as wars, also drive inflation. When the supply of essential commodities is disrupted, it leads to high prices. Currency movements also have an impact on inflation. A weakening of a currency leads to higher import prices, resulting in higher inflation. In some cases, inflation is caused by psychological factors, such as increased expectations of prices rising faster than their actual rate. Population aging is another factor that can drive inflation. As economic growth slows, and budget deficits widen, governments must increase taxes or borrow money to cover the costs, resulting in higher prices. Inflation can also be caused by a growing gap between production and consumption. If producers are unable to meet consumer demand due to a lack of resources or other factors, prices increase. A tight labor market can also exert upward pressure on prices. When labor is scarce and in high demand, wages rise, leading to higher production costs and ultimately higher prices. Seasonal factors such as weather can also cause inflation. For example, during a drought, food prices tend to rise as farmers face lower crop yields. Credit conditions in an economy are also influential. High interest rates mean people have to pay more for goods and services. This, in turn, causes prices to rise. Increases in transportation costs can drive inflation. Fuel prices, transportation tariffs, and other government taxes are all factors that, when increased, result in higher prices. Technology is central to inflation. With technology, production and distribution costs become cheaper, resulting in cheaper prices for consumers. However, if technology is slow to penetrate into an economy, prices can remain high. Wage stagnation can also lead to inflation. If wages are not keeping up with the cost of living, people have less to spend, resulting in reduced demand and lower prices. Rapid urbanization can contribute to inflation. If cities experience a population surge, the demand for goods and services will go up, leading to higher prices. Changes in commodity prices can also affect inflation. If the price of a key commodity such as oil increases, it can lead to higher prices overall. Inflation can be seen as a positive in certain situations. For example, when inflation is low, businesses can borrow money at lower rates and invest in higher growth projects. Monetary policy decisions taken by central banks also have an impact on inflation. Higher interest rates reduce borrowing and hence reduce demand, leading to lower prices. Finally, inflation can also be caused by geopolitical events such as wars between countries. When the distribution of key commodities is disturbed due to a conflict, prices may increase. There are many factors that can lead to inflation. From changes in the supply and demand of goods and services to cost of production, money supply and velocity, governments' fiscal and monetary policies, population growth, and demographics, price shocks, currency fluctuations, and psychological factors, economic growth, fiscal deficits, tight labor markets, seasonal factors, technology, wage stagnation, rapid urbanization, changes in commodity prices, and central bank monetary policies.